Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another FrameGame. Today I will be taking a look at a rather interesting game, to say the least. This game took its own genre, added a separate genre to it, and made a completely new and unique experience like I've never seen before. That's right, we're talking about the infamous Dragon Quest Builders. In this review, we will be looking at graphics, audio, gameplay, and overall experience. So without further ado, let's dive into the world of Dragon Quest Builders. First, let's analyze the graphics. I must say this game is rather pleasing, from its Minecraftian blocky nature up to its bright and vibrant appearance. On top of this, the character models are all chibi and adorable, but detailed enough to give the characters clear and extravagant emotions. You can see each character's anger, sadness, or frustration on their face as clear as day while they struggle to survive in a monster-infested world. On top of this, the particle effects are very well done, from breaking blocks to chopping trees. Certain enemies also cast spells or shoot arrows, which are done in a way to make the attack feel rather dangerous and intense. The graphics overall fit perfectly with not only the game type, but the world of Dragon Quest as a whole. That's why for this category, I'm going to give the graphics a 5 out of 5 slimes. The game clearly knows what it is, keeping the graphical style constant throughout the game as a whole. Not only this, but the stylization of the characters, even though a little more chibi than other games, still stick out clearly, being a part of the name Dragon Quest. With this being said, let's move on to the audio. The audio in this game, I must say, can be rather good at times. The sound effects are good and quirky, reminding me of previous effects used in Dragon Quest games. This, I feel, is a nice homage, and I was happy to see certain sound effects make a comeback. However, the music in this is rather a hit-and-miss situation. I noticed it after completing the first world that certain musical titles are used repeatedly throughout the entire game. That's right, the biggest of the two being combat music and town music. These two are not only repeated in every level, but they are also used constantly. Considering this game is all about building a town, naturally that means you'll spend a lot of time in the town you are building. Thus you will hear the town theme on a constant and regular basis. On top of this, some materials to build up said town can only be obtained via fighting monsters. This once again causes you to hear the exact same battle music on a regular basis. Part of me wishes that they created separate battle music and town music for each level, especially since there are only 4 levels total, aside from the sandbox mode. I myself have played certain RPGs that did this very well. They would have a different battle music for the desert rather than grassy plains, for example. The only repeated song left is in fact the night music, which I must say didn't bother me at all. The reason for this is that day is about 4 times longer than night to begin with. On top of this, it only played the night music when I was outside of town. This means I usually wouldn't hear it very often, if at all, since I would usually return to my town to sleep through the night. And if I was too far from town, you can also carry a workstation in order to build a small room so you can camp outside of town, skipping the night that way. Either way, hearing the night music was a rarity, so when I did hear the music, it didn't annoy me or bother me so much as the other songs. Other music tracks are similar to this aspect as well. Spending so much time in both combat and town makes all other songs less frequent and more rare, creating a bit of a delight when hearing them. This in turn made me like the other songs much more than I did initially. Thus, I will have to give the audio a 4 out of 5 slimes. The sound effects are spot on and perfect. Not only are they accurate, but they can be intense and startling if you know a high-level enemy is nearby. Though certain songs may be too repetitive, the other musical tracks are that much more enjoyable because of this, balancing it out a bit. So the game loses a mark for those 2 musical tracks, but the rest of the audio in the game is too good to pass up. With this out of the way, let's move on to the gameplay. This, I thought for sure would be the highest ranked category on my list, but after playing for so long, I'm not so sure. The game certainly is very interesting and proves to be a lot of fun when starting out. The game feel certainly resembles Minecraft in a lot of ways, allowing you to destroy and rebuild the base terrain. On top of this, unlocking new recipes to build while doing quests for your townspeople can be rather satisfying. Not only this, but NPCs themselves are comedic, making the game feel a lot more lighthearted than what the situation entails. The game involves you, the builder, to create civilization from the ground up. All other humans of the world have completely forgotten how to create, thus sending the world into the Dark Ages. However, the more you purify the world of its darkness via building, the more that humanity will slowly remember how to build themselves. The premise certainly is one of my favorites when it comes to a crafting and building game. Immediately you see the struggle that faces humanity, which drives you to build. In turn, the NPC's characteristics and quirky behaviors make you want to improve the town that much more to satisfy the people. All in all, the setup of the game makes you want to play that much more. However, after a while, this particular strength of the gameplay can also be a drawback. The game wishes for you to progress slowly, as I said, unlocking new craftables when you do quests for your people. However, this creates a bit of a void and repetition to the gameplay. Each new town usually entails that an NPC has gotten lost, hurt, paralyzed, or kidnapped by monsters. This creates a type of fetch quest that you will be repeating constantly in order to get more people. This will allow you to eventually unlock new quests with these NPCs in order to further the plot. After a while, this quest fetching becomes far too repetitive, especially at the start of the second level. Not only this, but since you are limited on craftables, this means that the only actual thing you could do in the game at this point are the fetch quests so that you can unlock more. It's a cycle that is repeated non-stop throughout the entire game. However, luckily, as I said, this usually only occurs every other quest. That means that once you fetch another townsperson, you will be greeted by a much more interesting quest to follow. This usually entails building quests where you are given a blueprint to build a specific type of room. These blueprints will essentially teach you what specific rooms need in order to function as that room type. Doing these will unlock those room types, not just for now, but future levels that you will enter. I found this quite enjoyable, for the room system in this game does multiple things for the player. The first and most obvious thing it does is level up the player's town. This in turn will make waves of enemies show up, making you defend it from an all-out assault. These battles can be a lot of fun, especially when you learn how to create certain defenses. Get creative with it, and your town may very well become unstoppable. The second thing that rooms do are actually provide some resources for the player. That's right, if you build a crude kitchen, NPCs will begin to use the kitchen to prepare food. With these types of rooms, you add a chest that the NPCs store leftover items that they create. That means that if you build a workshop, NPCs will eventually start to build things like doors and more chests. Other rooms even change what the townspeople wear as clothes or even weapons that they fight with. And of course, you've got to make rooms for your NPCs to sleep in. When night falls, you will see your respective NPC characters run off to sleep. However, this means that if you get attacked at night, your sleeping townsfolk won't be around to help you. All in all, this game is certainly a lot of fun to be had. Though, like I said, some quests prove to be somewhat repetitive. That's why I'm going to give the gameplay a 4 out of 5 stars. The execution is certainly fun and well crafted, however the few repetitive quests that occur remove some marks, to be sure. Although these are quickly combated with some fresh and interesting story quests along with creative base building on top of it. Now that the gameplay is out of the way, let's move on to the overall experience. This game as a whole, I must say, is rather well done. The graphics look like a clear Dragon Quest game with its own special quirks mixed in. On top of all this, the overall gameplay supports this art design in nearly every single way. Along with this, there are some decent and catchy musical songs in here that you don't hear too often, making them rememberable. Oftentimes I will even find myself humming some of the songs from this game. Sadly, there are some minor drawbacks that prevent this game from a perfect score. That is why I will give the overall experience a 4 out of 5 slimes. This game was so close to perfect. A few different song choices or perhaps more varied questing, and I certainly would have given it a 5. Thus, I would highly recommend you pick up this game for those of you who haven't already. So thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to hit that like button if you want. Or if you want to tell me of your experience with Dragon Quest Builders, feel free to leave a comment down below. And of course, if you want to see more videos that I've done, then go ahead and check out the description down below. And if you want to see future videos that I will be making, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to be notified. Only if you want to, of course. So anyways, I will catch you all in the next video.